Hundertwasser. Hundertwasser was born in 1928 in Vienna, Austria. By the time he was 5, he was expressing himself as an artist. He drew this self-portrait when he was 19 years old. When an artist draws a picture of him or herself, it is called a self-portrait. This is a realistic self-portrait. This is a portrait of Hundertwasser's mother. He drew it when he was at the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts. When he finished school, he decided he was no longer interested in drawing realistic portraits. His paintings of people began to be more about shapes, colors, and lines. What shapes do you see here? This painting is called Man Twirling His Mustache. Is this painting very realistic? Some of his paintings are abstract. In an abstract painting, you cannot tell what the artist is painting. What do you see? In this painting, Hundertwasser decided to combine realism with abstraction. What is real and what is abstract? He often painted pictures of houses and people. In this painting, he used lines to make many shapes. What are some of the shapes that he repeats? Hundertwasser often made his portraits of people becoming part of the earth. He believed that people needed to learn to live in harmony with the earth. What is harmony? Hundertwasser built his own house. He believed that houses should be a part of the earth. What do you think it would be like to live here? He also designed buildings for cities. They looked like his paintings. A person who designs buildings is called an architect. Can you find the trees on top of his roofs? Here is one of his buildings. Can you imagine living or working here? How do you think the neighbors like it? Hundertwasser's dream was for people to learn to live with nature instead of paving over it. His artwork was dedicated to this dream. He felt that it was important to leave grass and trees. Plants clean our air. They create a place for animals to live and for people to explore. Every day, humans make choices about how they affect the earth. What are some of the choices that you can make? For this project, you're going to need some oil pastels, a black Sharpie marker, a pencil, some watercolor paints, a dish of clean water, some different size brushes. I have a small, medium, and large, and a large sheet of watercolor paper. So let's first start just by moving everything away. We're going to get just to our paper here. Alrighty, so before you make any marks at all, Hundertwasser really played with different kinds of landscape. So before you get started at all, I want to talk a little bit about how Hundertwasser laid out his landscapes. He would often start with either a low horizon line, a medium horizon line, or a high horizon line, or there would be no horizon line at all. So before you make your choice, I want you to think about where we're going to be headed with this. So if you go with a low horizon line, you'll have your houses down low. If you go for a medium horizon line, you'll have them in the middle. If you go for a high horizon line, you'll have them up high. Or you might decide that you just want to do giant buildings that go from the bottom of the page and then at least one of them going up to the top of the page. So really it's up to you. So as you look at this, what is your preference? A low, a medium, a high horizon line, or no horizon line? So I'm going to go ahead and just sketch in one of them right now, and I'm actually going to go with a low horizon line, and your line can be wavy however you want it. So I want you to go ahead and get in your horizon line. What kind do you want, or none at all? Now once you have that in, then you're going to go ahead and start putting in some houses. Now if you've got the low one, you'll put them in down here. You can also include fences if you want, or you could even have spaces, okay? So go ahead and put in your houses, and if you're doing giant houses, you can put in houses that go from top to bottom. And know that he often would put in kind of this onion shape or teardrop shape if you want to include any of those. And I'll show you how to do them in the next little bit of drawing here. So I've gone for a low horizon line, and I'm going to go ahead and start to draw my houses. I can draw any kind of houses I want. I can kind of go with old school standard, taller houses. I could do one of those onion shapes. To do an onion shape, you take and you make a big smile on your building, and then you put a little dot up high. And then you take from that little dot, you come down and meet. And see how that gives you an onion shape? So if you want to put in any onion shapes, you can put in onion shapes. So let's go ahead and put in some buildings, or maybe some fences. So now that I have my basic houses done, now if I want, I could go in and I could add in some different windows, doorways, and know that he's got a lot of different ways that he makes windows and doors, and you're going to see the little handout that I made for you. There's all these different kinds of shapes for windows, and then sometimes he uses these keyholes for doors too, so you could use a combination of both of those. So whatever buildings you put in, you could start to put in different kinds of doors. You might put in spirals as well. You could put in all different kinds. So you're going to get to the point where you've added in different kinds of windows and doors onto your building. Now you have all this extra space. So in this extra space, you have a lot of choices. You could start to add in raindrops, onions, different kinds of keyholes. You could add in trees, different kinds of eyes, faces with lines or just lines. He makes different kinds of spirals and grids. Windows, he adds in boats, sometimes cars, different kinds of profiles, big spiraled suns. So I want you to use this handout and go ahead and start to fill in all of these extra spaces. And you need to fill in your spaces enough so that your hand can't fit inside of something. So if your hand can fit inside of it, then you need to keep on drawing. So I'm going to go ahead and start filling out mine, and you fill out yours. Now once you have your basic drawing done, you're going to take your Sharpie marker and you're going to go ahead and trace over it. And that's going to hold the line before we start doing our oil pastels or our painting. You might find that you need to have a really fine line Sharpie marker, or you might find that you'll be able to just use your larger Sharpie marker. I'm going to try to do mine all with my larger Sharpie marker first if I can. So I'm just going to go ahead and start tracing. Now, once you have it outlined in your Sharpie marker, then you're going to take an eraser, and any extra pencil lines you have, you're going to go ahead and get them erased out. And make sure you brush it off really, really well. So now I'm ready to go ahead and start taking in some oil pastels. Now with my oil pastels, I want to choose about maybe only just 25% of my things, and I'm going to just do a little bit of outlining with them. So maybe I go in and do some outlining in my trees. And I don't have to outline the whole thing. I can just do parts of them. I don't even have to stay perfectly on my lines. I'm just going to add in some different color here and there. With oil pastels. So I'm not actually coloring it in. This is going to kind of be like a crayon resist. And I can play with different colors if I want to. So I've highlighted about 25% of my drawing now with my oil pastels. And so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start taking in my watercolors. Now, if you've never used watercolors, make sure you do the watercolor demo first. And so I can now start to fill in with watercolors, really making sure that I clean my brush between colors each time, and so that I keep my paints clean for myself and for the next person that's coming after me. So I'm going to start to play with paint. And you're going to use the size of brush that you need. So I'm actually starting with my small brush. So as I go to paint things in, I'm going to be doing all of my small things first. And you're going to see that the oil pastels act as a resist and will give you a little bit more interest in your work. It'll make things kind of fun. So I'm adding my last few touches here and finishing this painting up. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you've had a great time and that you really love your painting. Bye-bye.